In a planet known as the Mother World, the royal bloodline ruled for thousands of years, but eventually their lust for power caused them to consume everything in their world. They decided to send their armies to conquer other planets and expand their empire until one day the king and queen were assassinated. The conquered planets wanted to use that chance to start a revolution, so Senator Belisarius stepped up and declared himself the new regent. Then he sent out his most brutal soldiers to crush all rebels without mercy. On a planet called Velt, a small settlement of farmers is going through their daily chores when suddenly they see an Empire ship in the sky. Cora, a war orphan, immediately recognizes it, so she rushes to ring the town's bell to warn everyone. Village leader Sindri gathers the locals to discuss how to proceed, and Farmer Gunnar thinks they should welcome the soldiers because they'll buy their grain at triple the price they offer in the city. Cora immediately disagrees, explaining that the Empire just takes everything they need by force and only leaves destruction behind. An argument ensues, but before they can reach a conclusion, the Empire ships land near the village. Admiral Noble meets Sindri with a hug and explains that they're looking for a rebel group led by the Bloodaxe siblings, but his army is in need of food. Sindri lies and tells him their soil doesn't produce much, so the village only has enough to barely feed themselves. Noble doesn't believe him and points out that everyone looks healthy and well-fed, so Gunnar cuts in with an explanation. He tries telling the Admiral that Sindri had only been trying to save food for winter to protect the village, but he's willing to sell some to Noble at a good price. Furious over being tricked, Noble grabs his cane and proceeds to beat Sindri to death. When Sindri's wife tries to approach him, a guard uses a glowing blade to kill her too. Then Noble announces he'll be back in 10 weeks to gather all the harvest, not caring if there's anything left for the villagers. Afterward, Noble and the ships leave, but a small group of soldiers led by Faunus stay to keep an eye on things. While some soldiers kick out the villagers from the building they want to claim, Private Aris activates Jimmy, a robot that used to serve the king. After the royals were killed, all the robots put down their weapons and refuse to fight, so the few that are left help around with menial tasks. As Jimmy helps the soldiers carry their things, Marcus decides to test the rumors and starts shooting at the robot, who falls to the ground and never defends himself. Aris cuts in to stop Marcus and almost gets killed, but Faunus stops them both and sends them to work. He also makes sure Jimmy isn't malfunctioning and sends him to wash the mud off. At the river, Jimmy is washing his face and is approached by Sam, who befriends the robot and listens to his story. Jimmy explains that Sam reminds him of the Empire princess, who was killed together with her parents by the traitors. Sam tells him that the princess lives in him and gifts Jimmy a flower crown, which activates something within him. Meanwhile, in the town hall, the villagers discuss what to do next and conclude that they should work hard to prove their harvest is valuable. That way the Empire won't kill them so they can keep producing food. Frustrated because nobody will hear her warnings, Cora starts packing her things to leave. She's caught red-handed by Hagen, the man who found her when her ship crashed on this planet 2 years ago. Hagen thinks Cora should team up with the rebels and protect the village, but Cora refuses, saying that they have no chance of winning, so it would only be a massacre. In the evening, Marcus and 2 other soldiers kidnap Sam so that the whole squad can use her. Cora hears her screams, but she reminds herself not to get involved. Aris comes to Sam's defense and manages to punch a few men, but there are too many of them, and they immediately overpower him. Soon, Faunus arrives and calls dibs on Sam, but he's interrupted by Cora, who has brought an axe. Faunus sends his men after her, and at first Cora pretends to surrender, only to suddenly move fast and bring down 2 soldiers with just a few moves. It seems Cora has great fighting experience and doesn't have many issues going against a bunch of privates, using their own weapons to go against them, and even throwing dirt to create a distraction. One by one, Cora defeats the soldiers with accurate shots or savage stabbing, and when a man almost shoots her, Aris kills the guy first. Then Marcus tries opening fire on her, but Cora quickly disarms him and jumps on him to shoot him straight in the head. Now Cora and Aris can team up to surround Faunus, but he's keeping Sam at gunpoint and they can't react. At that moment, Jimmy shows up and Faunus orders him to kill the rebels, but as Jimmy picks up a gun, he looks at Sam and kills Faunus instead. Afterward, Jimmy runs away, and the townspeople arrive just in time to see Cora kill a soldier who was still alive. She announces she will help them fight, but first, she'll have to gather more soldiers. In the past, Gunnar sold some of their harvest to the rebels, so he'll take her to the city to meet his contact. Before they leave, Hagen gives Cora the special gun he had found on her ship. Cora and Gunnar rode for a while and stopped at night to make camp. During this time, Cora took the opportunity to share her story. She recounted how, when she was only 9 years old, an Empire army led by Belisarius attacked her home planet, leaving death and destruction in its wake. Despite her people's attempts to fight back, Belisarius grew even more violent. Cora managed to steal a gun but was discovered by Belisarius, who approached her tauntingly. Being too young and unable to bring herself to kill, Cora witnessed Belisarius kill her family and kidnap her, taking her under his wing. In the following years, Cora was immersed in Motherworld culture and became part of their army. The higher-ups encouraged soldiers to find a lover as an additional motivation for fighting, but Cora lost hers during the war. Devastated by the loss, she fought relentlessly for revenge, eventually rising to the rank of commander by the age of 18. Unbeknownst to her, Cora had been nothing more than a pawn of their brainwashing, destroying countless towns in the name of the same people who had killed her family. The next day, Cora and Gunnar arrived in the city only to discover that bounty hunters had captured Gunnar's contact. With no other way to reach the rebels, Cora concluded that they would have to find the legendary General Titus first, and then search for the rebels. Determined, they entered a tavern where an obnoxious alien mistook Gunnar for Cora's slave and made unwanted advances. Cora warned him to leave, but when he became aggressive, she swiftly overpowered him and threw him against a table. The alien quickly retreated, while a mysterious figure named Kai observed from the shadows. Cora then announced her search for General Titus, hoping someone might have information. A small alien using a human body as a vessel to speak informed Cora that Titus was fighting in the Colosseum on a planet called Pollux. Realizing they needed a ship to travel there, the disgusting alien returned with 3 bodyguards seeking revenge. A gunfight erupted, causing the tavern's patrons to seek shelter. Cora skillfully exchanged shots with the bodyguards, eliminating them one by one. Gunnar struggled against the alien but couldn't make much headway. Thankfully, Cora intervened, knocking the alien down and saving Gunnar. As she turned to deal with the last bodyguard, the alien attempted a surprise attack from behind. However, Kai intervened, shooting the alien before he could harm Cora. Afterward, Kai searched the pockets of the fallen assailants and offered his ship to transport Cora and Gunnar to Pollux, accepting the little money they had to offer. During the journey, Kai informed them of a warrior who might be able to assist their cause, so they agreed to make a stop at a different planet first. Gunnar, who had never left his world before, marveled at the sight of the ship soaring through space. Meanwhile, aboard the Empire's main ship, Noble indulged in a smoke by directly connecting the pipe to his body. A soldier approached him to inform him about the capture of an informant by bounty hunters. Noble ordered the soldier to bring the captive to him and then returned to his tentacle lover. Sometime later, Cora's group arrived at New Wodi and met rancher Hickman, who owned a slave named Tarak. Tarak, who had previously fought against the Empire but was captured and enslaved, desired to fight again. However, he owed Hickman a substantial amount of money for his freedom. In a surprising turn of events, Hickman offered a bet. If Tarak could successfully tame a beast known as a Benis, he would be allowed to leave. However, if Tarak failed, Cora and the others would become slaves to Hickman as well. Accepting the challenge, Tarak approached the Benis, which violently shook its body in an attempt to break free from its chains. Tarak knelt down to show that he meant no harm, speaking in his native language and drawing a parallel between himself and the Benis. They were both forcibly taken from their homes and enslaved. With his kind words, Tarak managed to establish a bond with the Benis. Finally, Tarak freed the beast from its chains and mounted it. They took off on a flight, although the Benis struggled with having a rider and nearly crashed into rocks a couple of times. At one point, Tarak fell off the Benis near the edge of a cliff, but quickly recovered and leaped back onto the creature. With their newfound coordination, they flew smoothly and returned to the ranch without any issues. Impressed by Tarak's abilities, Cora and the group accepted Kai's offer to introduce them to more warriors who might be able to help. Shortly after, they arrived at Dagus and encountered Sword Mistress Nemesis. However, before Nemesis could join them, she had a personal mission to complete. She pursued Harmada, a spider-like alien whose children had been killed by the Empire and who had kidnapped a human child in search of justice. Nemesis attempted to reason with Harmada, sharing her own experience of losing her children to the Empire. However, Harmada refused to listen and launched an attack. Using her swords, Nemesis skillfully dodged and blocked Harmada's legs, even managing to sever one. While Gunnar rescued the kidnapped child, Harmada knocked Nemesis down and stabbed her arm. Undeterred, Nemesis utilized her mechanical gauntlets, enabling her to continue fighting. She severed another leg of Harmada's, and despite being knocked down again, she stabbed Harmada's spider body before impaling her humanoid torso with both swords simultaneously. As Harmada slid to the ground, Nemesis struck a final blow, stabbing her with her flaming blades. Afterward, Nemesis joined the group, and they set off once again. Gunnar and Cora shared another intimate moment, prompting Cora to reveal more about herself. As Belisarius's adoptive daughter, she had led a privileged life and eventually became a member of the royal guard. Her duty was to protect the princess, who possessed the unique power to resurrect beings. To this day, Cora carries guilt for her inability to save the princess during the attack. Sometime later, the group arrived at Pollux and visited the arena, a place where numerous warriors perished daily. General Titus, in a pitiable state, had to be dragged inside for a shower, protesting throughout the process. Titus had formerly served as a commander under the old king, but fell into a deep depression after his army was ambushed and all his men were killed due to his attempt to surrender. Initially unwilling to fight, Titus changed his mind when Cora offered him the opportunity for revenge. Meanwhile, the bounty hunters delivered the captured rebel contact to Noble, who promised to release him in exchange for information. However, once the informant revealed that the Blood Axe siblings were being protected by King Levitica in Sharon, Noble killed him. Shortly after, Cora's team reached Sharon and met with King Levitica, who agreed to arrange a meeting with the rebels. The Blood Axe siblings, accompanied by their rebel army, soon arrived, and Cora informed them about the upcoming battle. Though acknowledging the slim chances of victory, she emphasized that her people had always supported them, and now they needed defending in return. Brother Darian agreed to assist and delivered a heartfelt speech, rallying volunteers from his army. With their new allies, the group departed, and Kai expressed his inspiration, vowing to aid them in the fight. However, he still had some deliveries to make, so Cora agreed to make one last stop before returning home. Shortly after their departure, Noble and his men discovered Levitica and destroyed his kingdom. Refusing to cooperate, Levitica was killed by Noble with his cane. As the army continued to devastate the area, Noble received a message revealing the rebels' location. A few hours later, the team arrived at Gondoval and assisted Kai in unloading cargo on a bridge. While observing Kai's interaction with the locals, Cora sensed something amiss. Suddenly, a hidden Empire spacecraft opened fire, causing most of their ships to crash. The team was then ambushed by a group of robots, resulting in their capture. Kai's true intentions were revealed. He had always known that Cora, a wanted ex-commander, would fetch a substantial bounty, and he had used her to gather legendary wanted warriors to hand over to the Empire in exchange for the reward. Soon, Noble arrived with his men, confiscating Cora's gun. Kai, attempting to save himself, pushed Gunnar in front of Cora, informing them that if Gunnar killed her, they would spare him. Gunnar pretended to aim at Cora, but at the last moment he freed her and turned to shoot Kai instead. Seizing the opportunity, Cora swiftly subdued a guard, disarming him and taking his gun. She then sought cover as Noble's men opened fire. Cora did her best to retaliate, managing to detonate a box, causing a massive explosion that repelled her adversaries. Gunnar utilized the chaos to release the captive warriors, and Nemesis swiftly engaged in combat, slashing her way through foes. Darian pushed a soldier off the bridge and instructed his men to gather the surviving ships. The battle intensified as Tarka, Titus, and Gunnar secured firearms, providing cover for Nemesis as she continued her relentless assault. At this critical moment, Noble commanded his concealed spacecraft to emerge, which immediately unleashed a barrage of fire upon the rebel ships. Driven by desperation to save his men, Darian seized a metal bar, using it to subdue enemy soldiers as he ascended the bridge and leaped onto the enemy ship. Unfortunately, Darian failed to strike the pilot, who evaded his attack and retaliated, shooting Darian. Nevertheless, Darian persisted and succeeded in killing the enemy, halting the assault but sacrificing his own life in the process. His lifeless body inadvertently collided with the controls, causing the ship to descend slowly towards the bridge. Filled with fury, Cora abandoned her hiding spot and raced across the bridge, shooting at random soldiers while advancing toward Noble. As the ship plummeted, obliterating a significant portion of the bridge, Noble managed to save himself by landing on a floating platform. Unexpectedly, Cora emerged behind him, initiating a fierce hand-to-hand combat where both fighters relentlessly exchanged blows. After enduring a considerable exchange, Noble struck Cora off the platform, but she managed to grasp a rope at the last moment. As Noble attempted to sever the rope, Cora clung on with her hand, utilizing the rope as a whip to make him fall before climbing back up. The battle between Cora and Noble persisted, with Cora employing the rope to block Noble's cane. Finally, she shattered the cane and employed a small fragment to stab him in the leg. Though Noble attempted to continue fighting, his strength waned. Cora broke his arm and used the cane to deliver a fatal blow to his chest before pushing him off the platform. Subsequently, Tarek employed more rope to pull the platform toward the bridge and rescue Cora. The rest of the team survived, and they departed together to return to Velt, where they prepared to defend the farming community in the future. Meanwhile, nearby, Jimmy observed them while wearing an intriguing crown. On the other side, the enemy troops recovered Noble's body, but instead of healing him, they opened his body to connect him to the Neurolink, revealing his cyborg nature. As water surrounded his body, Noble's consciousness appeared before Belisarius, who reprimanded him for his failure, repeatedly striking the ice beneath them with his cane. Belisarius instructed Noble to capture Cora alive so that he could personally kill her. Finally, Belisarius shattered the ice, sending Noble's consciousness back to his body. The doctors detected no brain activity, necessitating an exceptionally potent injection to revive him, causing Noble to awaken, screaming in agony.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this.